Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Nick. Welcome back to my channel, Ohio Hikes. No, I'm not out hiking today, even though it is a beautiful day. Here I'm going to show you how I make my homemade coffee packets. I showed these when I was at Zaleski Park. I make two sizes. This is 12 grams. This is 7 grams. This is a normal cup of coffee, and this is one if I need a little bit more caffeine boost in my mornings. So I have here 2x2 packets. I bought these off of Amazon for $4.97 after taxes. It is a 100 pack, calculated out. It is 0.049 cents per packet. I have these 2x3, also off Amazon. It is $5.39 after taxes. And it is a 100 pack for 0.053 cents per pack. I have 2 plastic containers that I use to separate my coffee and my creamer. I have a teaspoon that I use to put that in my packets. Here I have a very cheap powdered coffee creamer. It is $3.59 from Aldi's. And then I have a very cheap coffee. It is $4.99 from Kroger. So even though on my video I talked about buying coffee from dollar stores, it doesn't matter where you buy them from. I just do it as cheap as possible wherever I can find it, because making these on my own, I can get a bunch of coffee packets that are very, very cheap on the dollar cents, if you want to call it that. So let me go ahead and make some and I'll show you how I do it. Hey, what's up everybody? Just getting my items ready to go here. I'm gonna take my coffee, and what I do is I pour some of it into my plastic container. I don't do the whole thing, I do a little bit at a time. It makes it a little bit easier. I take some of my creamer and I do the same thing. I do a little bit at a time. Get some of that in there. Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with my 2x2. We'll go ahead and make 4 of them to start. Now, depending how many you make and what size packets you want to use, even if you do a 7-gram coffee out of the 2x3s, absolutely perfect. Whatever size works for you. This just works for me because they're small, they save weight, they save space, and it is far more cheaper to make them at home for myself than going to the store and buying Death Wish, Starbucks, any of the other companies that make the instant coffee packets. Plus it includes creamer, which I always have to have in my coffee because black for me is just too bitter. I do have a scale here. It is turned on 2 grams. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my coffee and get it inserted. I do weigh them as I go because that kind of helps with control. One thing I do is I do seal them shut before I weigh them. That way, just in case it doesn't get coffee or creamer all over my scale. Now, when I do my coffee, I do use a spoon to get it in, and then my weight is 5 grams of coffee. So let's get it sealed up. Now you will get a little bit of coffee powder up here, which is fine. I usually just knock it back in when I do this. So right now I'm at 4 grams. A little bit more in. Okay, still at 4. It is normal if you have to fill it, seal it, weigh it, seal it, fill it, weigh it, just to kind of get your ounces. And this is totally subjective too. You go with whatever weight you want to use, how much coffee you want to add, how much creamer you want to add, even if you don't make creamer as part of your packet. Totally subjective. You could use this powder, this instant coffee, which is a powder, and they also have instant coffee with your granules. Okay, so we're at 5 grams now. So I'm gonna add 2 grams of coffee creamer. And even with your coffee creamer too, you can make it whatever flavor you want. I just prefer vanilla for myself. Okay. So let's start with that. Okay, 7 grams, perfect. Now, as you can see, it's just a little tiny packet. It's small, it's saving space, saving weight. We have 3 more of those to do, so let me knock these 3 out. All right, so let's go ahead and knock out these other 3 real quick. So again, I'm adding 5 grams of coffee to my baggie. Okay, so that's about 4 grams. We have 1 more gram left to go. Like that. Okay, still 4, so I need a little bit more. Okay, let's try that. Okay, we're at 5. Let's add 2 grams of creamer. Now, the reason I do this is because, as I've mentioned before in other videos, like, you don't need to go out and buy like the biggest and greatest and name brand stuff. I'm not that type of person. If it works for me, then it works for me. This is cheap. This is easy. It gives me something to do to look forward to when I go camping, that I can sit out there on a cold morning, cool morning, and have a nice hot cup of coffee. And it helps the wallet too, you know. With today's inflation, everything's expensive. So if I can cut down some of my cost by making these probably less than 20 cents per, then I'm gonna do it. Just like my recycled straws that I use to make my fire starters. They don't cost very much, and you're recycling. So, you know, I do the same with my gear. When I buy my gear, I can get it from Temu or AliExpress, and I don't really care what anybody else thinks. If it works for me, it works for me. I was looking at seat pads today on Garage Grown Gear, and you could buy one that is 0.4 ounces, but I found one that was on AliExpress for 1 ounce, and it's just as good as store-bought or name brand, because it works for me. So let me weigh this out. Okay, we're at 4 grams. Let's get a little bit more. Okay. 5 grams. Let's add 2 grams of coffee creamer. Just over, so I gotta take out a little bit of my coffee creamer. Okay. All right, 7 grams. Let me do my last one, and then we'll move on and I'll show you the 2x3 12 grams. Now, I gotta say, using the 12 grams definitely gives you a little bit more of a caffeine boost in the morning, because that is more than recommended for this container of coffee. It says you can get 100 cups of coffee out of this little 7-ounce amount of instant coffee. So it's kind of why I do the 5 grams, just to kind of stretch it a little bit. And then definitely the more grams you use, the less you're going to get. But you know, again, everything's subjective on this, on how much you want to use, what creamer you want to use. I'd say the one benefit of using the powdered instant coffee is space inside your baggie, because if you have the granules, you have more air in between your coffee grounds. If you have the powdered, you kind of save a little bit more space in your baggie, then you're able to kind of stretch that out more per bag. So again, completely subjective on what you want to use. Sorry, some of these baggies are hard to split open once they're together. Okay, there we go. 2 ounces of creamer, and we will be set on our 4. Okay, we're at 8 grams, so we went a little bit more than we need to be, and no, not necessarily needs to be 7. Even if you go on 8, then that's fine. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to keep it 7. Okay, 7 grams. So as you can see, with our small baggies, just how much space it saves up. They just fit in my hand. And then 4 packets together is 30 grams, 1.1 ounces. It would be more than that if you got the big name brand ones. All right, so let's get into our 2x3 packets. So we'll do 4 again. I have 4 baggies. Set the rest of these aside. Perfect. Okay, so let's add some more coffee to our plastic container before we start, because we are going to need more in our 12 grams. So for this, again, we're going to do the exact same thing. For this one, is we have our spoon, get our coffee in. When you do the bigger 2x3, my grams are 7 grams of coffee to 5 grams of creamer. That way it does come out as enough. So we are at 8 grams, so I need to take out a little bit. Okay, 7 grams, so we're going to add 5 grams of creamer. Once again, when I make the big ones, I do seal the top first, and wait, that way you don't get coffee and creamer everywhere. So we are at 12 grams. So you can see a little more coffee. That way when I'm out and I wake up on a cold morning when I'm camping, I have a little bit more of a caffeine boost because I'm getting more coffee in a shorter cup. So start with 7 grams of coffee. Five grams, let me add 2 more. Still 5. Okay, 7 grams, perfect. Let me add my 5 grams of creamer. Let's get that weighed. 12 grams, awesome. Now I will say the one downside of these is they do smell. So if you're in bear country, if you're worried about raccoons, skunks, and opossums like we are in Ohio, they do smell. Mostly because if you get your coffee up here along the top and not all in your Ziploc baggie, they do smell strong. Now I have a bunch of these pre-made in my camping food container, and every time I open up my container, and it is a sealed container to help with moisture and waterproof, and it instantly smells like coffee. So that's the only downside to these. If you put it in a smell-proof bag in your bear bag or whatever you use for your food, just be forewarned. But again, here in Ohio, we don't have to worry about bears. We just have to worry about raccoons, opossums, skunks, mice when you go camping. So I do use a smell-proof bag when I do go camping, so that does kind of help me a little bit. A little more creamer. We'll get 1 more gram, and then we will be good. A little bit more. Okay, 12 grams, got 1 more to go. Now these aren't real time consuming. It doesn't take very long to make. It's easy, you don't have to go through a bunch of steps. The only time consuming part, which just takes seconds, is just getting them weighed. I could make an entire 7-ounce container of coffee in 20 minutes. But again, everything is down to the individual person. You could be filling all of your packets with coffee at 5 grams for the 7 gram mark all at once, and then go through and do all of them, do your creamer. You can do what I'm doing and fill up both at the same time and do it individually one by one. Like again, everything's so subjective when you make these. It's pretty much however you want to do it. I prefer to do one at a time. That way it's just quicker for me. But when I do the 2x3s, I could probably get 36 packets out of the instant coffee with the 2x3. With the 2x2s, I can get about 45, 46. So it is a whole lot more cheaper than going and buying the instant ones. A little bit more and we'll be done. Okay, so we are done with our 4th packet. So as you can see, we have our 4 done, and altogether they weigh 47 grams or 1.7 ounces. So not much different from the 2x2s. It is 0.6 ounces different than the ones before. So here you can see them all together on the scale. So the one thing I really have not done yet and haven't tried is saving my mini packets and washing them out and reusing them. To me, I don't need to do that. If you're that type of person that you do want to wash them out and reuse them, go for it. It's not what I do. I haven't tried it yet. Just basically because these packets are so cheap on Amazon. So that's how I make my instant coffee packets. Hopefully you like this video. Definitely want to try this out if you are saving money like myself, or if you want to have your own catered type of coffee when you go out. Thank you for watching my video. My name is Nick. This is Ohio Likes. Hopefully you learn how to make some nice homemade coffee packets. And thank you very much for watching. Bye.